My name is David L. Pittman Jr., and I'm the CEO of DP Photography, LLC. I was released from prison in Mississippi in June of 2013. And prior to that, I was incarcerated in Texas. And you know, when you are a felon, especially when you have serious felonies or when you have an extensive criminal record, there are companies that just won't hire you, especially here in Mississippi, unless of course you know somebody. And each time that I put on an application that I was a felon, I never got a phone call. Or if I didn't put it on there, eventually the company would do a background check and they would find out or discover that I was a felon, and they would automatically terminate me. So I said, well, I tell you what, there was this guy that I had been following on Facebook. His name is Billy Jean. And Billy Jean is the king of marketing on Facebook and Instagram, and one of the king of marketers on YouTube. And Billy Jean was talking about how you can make money from making videos on Facebook and marketing from people who didn't know how to use Facebook. So I said, well, man, maybe I can do that for this guy. You know, because Billy Jean is a millionaire, you know, nice, lavish office, you know, out in Little Italy and San Diego. So I said, man, maybe I can be like Billy Jean. So I offered the car wash owner to make a video. So we made the video, but it was a impromptu video on the spot, what I just did, you know, live, and I ran a sponsored ad, and you know, got a few hits, but not that many. So then I actually came back with a little camcorder that one of my cousins gave me, and I shot some footage, and I took it back to a city councilman in Goshen who knew how to make videos, because he had the old Windows Movie Maker. So we put together a 15-second video, and that's where all of this started. I believe a lot of blacks on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, they want to be bold and they want to be daring, but they're scared. I grew up in Goshen, Mississippi, and during the time when I was growing up, and even now, white police officers in Goshen, they were pretty hard on young black men. I'll never forget, one time I was like 15 years old. I had a child when I was young, excuse me, right at 15 years old, and I was coming from my daughter's mother's house. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and I was riding my bike going back home. I was going north, coming from the south side. The police stopped on Latner Road, and they turned around, and they, you know, parked the car in front of me, and they asked me where I was coming from, and I said I was coming from my daughter's mother's house. So they wanted to search me. So they searched me, and they found like a whole bunch of $1 bills and $5 bills. At the time, I was working for a man, his name is Larry Norwood. Larry Norwood was a black business owner in Goshen who owned his own ice cream business, Snowballs. So that's how Mr. Norwood paid me, was with ones and fives, you know, the little change and stuff like that. So they told me that a video store had been broken into on the west side of Goshen, like going out of Goshen, going into Ocean Springs, past the police department where now the current police department is. And I was like, well, I'm coming from this way. And they said, well, we got to take you in for questioning. On another occasion, there was this guy that lives up the street. He said he used to be a police officer. My daughter and I was leaving the studio late one night. He was parked over in the National Guard Armory just looking. So he looked suspicious to me. So I pull off on McCann and jump on Lemoyne, and I span back around, and I see him come in the parking lot. So I roll up beside him. I said, hey, what's going on? May I help you? He said, I was just seeing where the place being burglarized. I said, no, it ain't being burglarized. He said, well, y'all look suspicious. I said, you look suspicious. That's what I told him. I said, what's your name? Matter of fact, he said, well, I used to be a police officer. That don't mean nothing. And I told him, I said, you wouldn't have done this if you seen some white guys up here. And he said, well, I got plenty of black friends. I said, man, that's what they all say. You know, or I invited a black person, or we invited them over our house to eat. That don't mean that you still don't have that sick mentality to look at us like we're thieves or like we're doing something that's wrong, talking about you looking after the neighborhood. So what I would like to see for blacks on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and in Mississippi is that we understand how this system works, and then that we understand that you do not have to be afraid to step out on faith.
Thanks for watching. New episodes will be posted every other Friday on our Instagram and YouTube. For more information,